The torches flickered in the underground chamber beneath the great temple of Isis in Alexandria. Shadows danced upon the carved hieroglyphs lining the stone walls, depicting the goddess Isis bestowing divine wisdom upon her chosen ones. At the heart of the chamber, standing tall and regal, was Cleopatra VII, the last queen of Egypt, draped in sheer linen embroidered with gold. A diadem of cobras coiled around her brow, their jeweled eyes glinting as if alive. Before her, kneeling in silent devotion, was a circle of initiates, their faces hidden behind jackal and falcon masks. These were no ordinary followers of Isis. They were scholars, warriors, and priests, hand-picked by Cleopatra herself. Bound by blood and oath, they had sworn to safeguard the greatest secret of the ancient world, the true rights of the goddess, hidden from Rome, protected by the last queen of Egypt. To the outside world, Cleopatra was the ruler of a dying kingdom, a woman entangled in political intrigue with Rome. But here, beneath the temple, she was more than a queen. She was the living embodiment of Isis, keeper of forbidden knowledge, and guardian of mysteries that predated the pyramids. Tonight, the initiates would witness what few had ever seen: the rite of the serpent's blood, the most sacred ritual of all, a path to divine transcendence. A heavy bronze bowl rested upon a black altar, its rim inscribed with glyphs too ancient for most to read. Within its depths swirled a thick crimson elixir, shimmering unnaturally under the dim firelight. Cleopatra's chief alchemist, Horus of Memphis, had spent years perfecting the concoction, blending the blood of sacred beasts, crushed lapis lazuli, honey, and something far more elusive, something rumored to be drawn from the Nile itself, infused with the breath of the gods. The air was thick with the scent of burning myrrh and lotus, intoxicating, disorienting. The chamber pulsed with an unseen energy as the queen raised her hands, her voice echoing through the stone walls. "O Mother of the Cosmos, Mistress of the Nile, Keeper of the Veil, grant us the wisdom of the stars and the power of your sacred womb." A young initiate stepped forward, trembling with reverence. He had been chosen, his soul deemed worthy by the goddess herself. His eyes, wide and dark, locked onto Cleopatra's as she extended the bowl toward him. "Drink and be reborn." The chamber held its breath. The boy lifted the vessel to his lips, the thick liquid coating his tongue, its taste both sweet and metallic. A violent shudder coursed through his body. His pupils dilated until his irises disappeared entirely. His skin gleamed under the torchlight, taking on an unnatural luster. A gasp rippled through the gathered initiates as the young man convulsed, his body writhing, his veins illuminating with an eerie golden glow. The transformation had begun. Cleopatra's lips curved into a knowing smile. Many would call her mad, a sorceress drunk on her own legend. But they did not understand. Rome believed power lay in swords and conquest. But true power, immortal power, was hidden in the depths of the human soul, in the sacred rites passed down from the gods themselves. The Romans feared her not because of her armies, but because of what she knew. They feared that she had unlocked the secrets of eternal life. The young initiate's body trembled, caught between agony and ascension. His breath came in short gasps as the golden veins beneath his skin pulsed with unnatural energy, illuminating the chamber with an ethereal glow. The air shimmered around him, distorting reality, bending the torch's light into strange, shifting patterns. The initiates whispered prayers in hushed tones, their masked faces betraying awe and fear. They had read the sacred texts, they had memorized the incantations, but never had they witnessed the raw power of the rite of the serpent's blood. Cleopatra stepped forward, her bare feet silent on the cool stone floor. She placed a hand upon the initiate's forehead, her touch both gentle and commanding. His convulsions slowed. His breathing steadied. And then, as if awakening from a deep sleep, he opened his eyes. But they were no longer the eyes of a man. They glowed with a golden brilliance, ancient and knowing, as if he had glimpsed beyond the veil of mortality and seen the hidden fabric of existence itself. A murmur rippled through the gathering. Some bowed their heads in reverence. Others recoiled, unsettled by the inhuman radiance of his gaze. Cleopatra, however, was pleased. "You see now," she said, her voice smooth as silk, "the flesh is but a vessel. The spirit is eternal. And the gods are within us." The initiate's lips parted as if to speak, but instead of words, a deep, resonant hum escaped him, vibrating through the chamber. The torches dimmed for a moment, their flames bending toward him as though drawn by some unseen force. Horus of Memphis, the alchemist, stepped forward, his expression wary. "My queen," he murmured, "the elixir's effects are stronger than we anticipated." Cleopatra turned her eyes to him, unreadable and piercing. "Stronger, yes, as it should be. The time of secrets is ending." She looked around at the gathered initiates, her voice rising with quiet intensity. "For centuries, the priests of Ammonius have hoarded their knowledge. The Romans believe themselves gods upon the earth. Even my ancestors, the mighty pharaohs, only glimpsed the true path to divinity. But Isis has revealed the way to me. And through her, Egypt will not fall." Her words sent a tremor through the crowd. They had followed her through war, through the rise and fall of alliances. Now they would follow her through the veil of life itself. Cleopatra turned back to the initiate, now more than human, his golden eyes reflecting the flickering torchlight like twin suns. "What do you see?" she asked. He blinked slowly, his voice hollow, reverent. The stars are singing." The chamber fell into a heavy silence. Cleopatra's smile deepened. "Then you are ready." She gestured, and two attendants approached, draping the initiate in robes of deep indigo, the color of the sacred night sky. He was led to a dais at the far end of the chamber, where ancient carvings of Isis adorned the stone. He knelt, hands raised, whispering prayers in a language long forgotten by the world above. The rest of the initiates turned back to their queen, waiting. Cleopatra lifted the bronze bowl once more. "The gods do not grant power freely," she said. "They demand sacrifice." A second initiate stepped forward, his breathing steady despite the weight of the moment. Cleopatra extended the bowl. "Drink and be reborn." Above, in the grand halls of the palace, Rome crept ever closer. Octavian spies slithered through Alexandria's streets, whispering of treachery, of betrayal, of the coming storm. But beneath the temple, where the torches burned and the scent of lotus thickened the air, Cleopatra was not preparing for surrender. She was preparing for eternity. They would not take Egypt from her, for she was Isis reborn. The days passed in a blur of whispered incantations and flickering torchlight. Below the great temple of Isis, Cleopatra's cult grew stronger, their rituals more frequent, their knowledge deeper. The initiates who drank from the serpent's blood became something more than human. Their senses sharpened, their bodies strengthened, their minds expanded with visions of a world beyond the mortal plane. The transformation was not without its dangers. Some did not survive, their bodies too weak to hold the divine elixir. But those who did, they became the pillars of a new age. Cleopatra watched them carefully. She saw how their golden veins pulsed beneath their skin, how their voices carried a resonance that made the torches flicker. She listened to their dreams, to the visions that plagued their nights, visions of a great darkness approaching, a shadow that sought to consume Egypt whole. Octavian. The Romans would come, as they always did, with steel and fire, with ships and soldiers who knew nothing of the old ways. They would reduce her kingdom to ruins, desecrate the temples, burn the papyrus scrolls that held the wisdom of 1,000 years. They would claim they were the new gods. But Cleopatra had no intention of letting them. On the night of the full moon, she called her most devoted followers to the chamber. The scent of burning myrrh and crushed lotus filled the underground sanctuary. The golden-eyed initiates knelt before her, their bodies bathed in the flickering glow of the sacred flames. "The time is near," Cleopatra said, her voice calm, unwavering. "Rome believes me defeated. They believe I will kneel before them, that I will become their trophy, their spoils of war. But they do not understand." She stepped forward, the hem of her linen robe trailing across the cool stone floor. "The gods have spoken to me. They do not wish for Egypt to perish. They do not wish for their wisdom to be lost beneath the feet of conquerors." She turned to Horus of Memphis, the alchemist who had perfected the elixir. "Have you prepared the final mixture?" Horus bowed, lifting a smaller bowl, its contents shimmering like molten gold. "It is ready, my queen." But this, he hesitated, his brows furrowed. "This will not grant simple strength or sight beyond sight. This is the final step, the complete ascension." Cleopatra took the bowl from his hands and turned back to the initiates. "Then it is time." She raised it high above her head, the light reflecting off its surface. "Tonight we take our place among the divine." One by one they drank. The chamber trembled. The very walls seemed to pulse with an unseen energy, the air thick with power. The initiates gasped as their bodies absorbed the sacred mixture, their eyes rolling back, their hands clawing at the stone floor as the transformation gripped them fully. Cleopatra closed her eyes and lifted the bowl to her lips. The liquid burned as it slid down her throat, hotter than fire, colder than the Nile at dawn. Her heart pounded, her breath quickened. For a moment, she felt as if she were drowning, as if the weight of the gods themselves pressed down upon her. And then, visions flooded her mind. The birth of the world, the rise of the first pharaohs, the celestial beings who descended upon the desert sands to guide humanity. She saw the true power of Isis, the way the goddess had shaped the Nile, how she had woven her magic into the land itself. She saw the future. Rome's armies marching upon Alexandria, their banners raised high, the palace set ablaze, the temple desecrated. Her own death. Cleopatra gasped, stumbling forward, her fingers grasping at the edge of the altar. The golden light that had filled her veins flickered, dimming for a moment as she steadied herself. Not yet. She would not allow this fate to come to pass. She turned to her initiates, now fully transformed, their golden eyes gleaming in the firelight. "We must move quickly," she said. "There is still one secret Rome does not know." The initiates listened, their breaths shallow, their bodies vibrating with the energy of the elixir. Cleopatra took a deep breath. They believe that the power of Isis lies in her temples, in her statues and scrolls. She stepped toward the great stone wall at the far end of the chamber. With slow, deliberate movements, she pressed her palm against the carved surface, tracing the ancient symbols embedded within the rock. The ground trembled. A deep, echoing rumble filled the chamber. Before the initiate's stunned eyes, the wall shifted, revealing a hidden passage. Beyond it lay something that had not been seen by mortal eyes in centuries. Something Rome could never be allowed to find. Cleopatra turned back to her followers, her lips curving into a knowing smile. "Come," she whispered. "It is time for Egypt to be reborn." And with that, she stepped into the darkness. The veil of Isis had been lifted.